Hi, my name's Phil and welcome to LabourVision, where we took a look at Labour policies compared with that of the Conservatives to highlight the difference. This week, asylum and small boat crossings have been all the rage, so let's take a look at that. First thing to note is the Conservatives caused a little bit of controversy this week, with a meme taking advantage of a mishap from a BBC presenter to suggest that Labour are attacking the Tories' asylum policies but won't actually present their own alternative plans. Oh, it's all right them complaining, but where's their plan? Well, the controversy for me is in saying that Labour won't say what they would do differently. They have announced their plans. They announced their plans a year and a half ago. But before I go over their 5-point plan, because apparently everything in politics has to be a 5-point plan, let me go over what the three key issues are. The first, which politicians and the media don't really seem to like talking about, is we are experiencing huge levels of displacement caused by a combination of the climate crisis and political instability. There are discussions internationally about how to adapt to this new level of forced displacement, much of which is stoked by Putin's regime, for example. It's really this simple. If we, as in the stable nations of the world, I use that word stable in its loosest sense in our regard, if we work to stabilise the rest of the world, both politically and in terms of the environment, we will massively cut down on the number of refugees that everyone bellyaches about. And it tends to be those who support the instability who bellyache the most about dealing with the subsequent refugee crises. The second issue is that the Tories have withdrawn from international agreements for managing asylum and by closing down safe routes for claiming asylum with the UK, thus leaving dangerous channel crossings as the only option. Indeed, Rishi Sunak is making much of the returns agreement with Albania for helping to significantly reduce channel crossing numbers this year. So the government are essentially admitting that the real results come from international agreements which comply with international law. You'll notice there's no courts had any problem with the returns agreement with Albania. We should have more of these. The third issue is the criminal gangs who profit from people smuggling operations, which has become much more lucrative since Brexit, and those profits are not exactly being spent on making ordinary people's lives better. There are no Robin Hoods supplying the boats. Some people focus on one of these main issues, but all three are interlinked. Those with sympathy for refugees tend to focus on the need for the safe routes. Those with less sympathy tend to focus on the criminal gangs, thinking that, well, if we could deal with them, then the problem goes away and we'll never have to accept any refugees. But it's like, no, in reality, one feeds the other, and not seeking to stabilise vulnerable parts of the world feeds them both. Like, if we take out criminal gangs, but we have no safe routes, well, there are still refugees and more gangs will just emerge because the business opportunity is there to be taken. We need to remove the business opportunity. So we set up safe routes. The gangs will still ply their trade because they will do what they can to try and claim that they can help asylum seekers circumvent certain procedures. So you need both. The Tories have neither. What do Labour have? Well, their stated policies are as follows. First, they would set up new resettlement schemes to allow safe and legal passage for refugees with family connections in the UK. Because there's people who are asking, well, why can't they just claim asylum in like Spain or France or something? It's like two reasons, really. First, we need to do our share. You know, despite what the gammon press say, we actually don't do our share. It's quite pathetic. The people think, oh, there's this massive tidal wave. No, there isn't. You ask Germany what a lot of refugees looks like. We have no idea. But secondly, if someone has family in the UK and speaks some English, why wouldn't they come to UK over France? This would not only be more humane, but it reduces the motivation to use criminal gangs, thus depriving them of their easy income. Second, Labour would invest in processing. The Tories have stripped away our capacity to process claims over the last 8 years, which is why the backlog built up. And the thing is, for those who think, well, these aren't actually asylum seekers, but economic migrants, I had one of those the other day. If you process their claim, they can either prove beyond reasonable doubt that they are claiming asylum, or they can't. And if they can't, you deport them. And no court will block you. So Labour are promising to speed up the processing of claims in order to achieve three main aims. First, those without provable claims can be deported, thus taking away a main source of rabble-rousing for the gammon leaders. Second, those with a valid claim can settle, find a job, be contributing to our GDP and tax revenues. And third, it means that the government don't have to find increasingly crazy ways to house the backlog of claimants because it would be very small. According to Labour, this will save about £12,000 per claimant compared with the rate the Tories were processing them when Labour announced their policies a year and a half ago. Third, Labour would get back up to the 0.7% of GDP for international aid. As I explained, if you want to reduce the number of asylum seekers, the best way is to deal with it at source. What a lot of people who are most vocally opposed to asylum fail to understand is that international aid is not giving money to foreigners like charity. It's helping people live their lives safely, because if they feel safe in their own land, they don't need to seek asylum elsewhere. Labour understand this and are willing to act on it. It needs the rest of the world to act as well, of course, but a Labour government is going to do its part. Fourth, Labour will set up a specialist unit within the National Crime Agency to coordinate with European police forces in dealing with the criminal gangs. So after changing policies to make it harder for those gangs to make an easy profit, they will further disincentivise their existence with legal force as well. And the fifth policy is a returns agreement with the EU, in line with the Dublin Agreement. Now, Yvette Cooper for Labour has suggested that they would like a remodelled version, and that, well, I know what you'll say, that sounds like cherry picking and therefore unrealistic, but bear in mind that EU countries are themselves wanting to have a fundamental rethink on how to deal with refugees. So it may well be that the EU itself agrees a different way of dealing with this. So what Labour are essentially saying is they would like to be involved with those discussions and help come to a common agreement in a way which suits everyone. But as the Tories have just shown this year, returns agreements work to help with at least part of the problem. So those are Labour's policies, all very different to the Tories' feeble attempts, and they announced them a year and a half ago. The reasons the Tories keep saying Labour have no plan is because they don't want voters to know about it. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found the video interesting, please click the like button and subscribe for further content. Particularly check out the live streams most days. And until next time, I'll see you later.